In the year 1576, a leader stood firm against overwhelming odds, and his courage became immortal.
This animated map tracks the political reality of 16th century India. Under Emperor Akbar, the Mughal Empire rapidly consumed the subcontinent. Through a highly effective combination of military force, strategic diplomacy, and marriage alliances, independent states were consistently folded into the imperial machine. To maximize its wealth, securing the Rajput states in the west was a strict strategic necessity. As we can see on this map, these territories held the vital land routes connecting the inland empire to the highly lucrative seaports along the Gujarat coastline. By the 1570s, almost every major kingdom in the region had submitted, except for one. Hidden within the rugged Aravalli Mountains, the state of Mewar, led by Maharana Pratap, flatly refused to bow. Mewar's defiance challenged the core of Akbar's claim to absolute authority. By remaining independent, the kingdom acted as a tangible counterexample to imperial inevitability, suggesting that Mughal power had a physical and political limit. Akbar initially tried diplomacy. He dispatched multiple envoys to negotiate a peaceful surrender. This effort collapsed during a state dinner, where Maharana Pratap deliberately refused to sit and eat with Akbar's top commander, a Rajput named Man Singh. To Pratap, the stakes were cultural. He viewed Akbar as a foreign invader. More importantly, he viewed Man Singh, whose family had secured their power by marrying into the Mughal dynasty, as a traitor to the local Rajput codes of sovereignty. When news of the insult reached Delhi, an infuriated Akbar ended diplomatic efforts. He deployed a massive expeditionary force to crush Mewar. This diagram compares the two sides. A colossal Mughal army of over 10,000 soldiers marching against Pratap's defensive force of roughly 3,000. The 3-to-1 numerical disadvantage was compounded by a massive technological gap. The imperial army deployed armored war elephants and specialized musketeers, while Pratap relied on the mobility of light cavalry and Bhil archers. According to conventional military doctrine, the outcome was predetermined. Mewar's complete annihilation appeared certain within hours of the two armies meeting. This photograph shows the pass at Haldighati, named for its turmeric-colored soil. Pratap knew he couldn't win a fight in an open field, so he set his trap here. By funneling the massive Mughal army into this tight, restrictive gorge, he neutralized their numerical advantage. On the morning of June 18, 1576, the Mewar forces executed a shock ambush. They struck with such sudden intensity that the heavily armed Mughal front lines were shattered, sending soldiers fleeing backward into their own advancing ranks. The fighting in the pass was chaotic. Giant war elephants tore into each other in the confined space, while Mughal musketeers unleashed volleys of gunfire that ripped through the Mewar cavalry, who had no effective way to shield themselves from the lead shot. In the climax of the skirmish, Pratap spotted Man Singh atop his command elephant. Spurring his warhorse, Chetak, through the hail of arrows, Pratap charged. Chetak leapt, planting his hooves directly onto the elephant's tusks, allowing Pratap to hurl a sneer that narrowly missed Man Singh, killing the driver instead. The battle favored Mewar until a calculated lie shifted the momentum. A Mughal commander at the rear beat the war drums and spread a false rumor that Emperor Akbar himself had arrived with massive reinforcements. Hearing this, the fleeing Mughal troops rallied, pushing back with a weight that Pratap's small force could no longer hold. Facing destruction, Pratap recognized a brutal truth. When fighting a wildly superior opponent, dying on the battlefield accomplishes nothing. The only way to win the war was to survive the day. To buy the Maharana time to escape, a loyal commander named Jala Man Singh made a desperate sacrifice. He seized Pratap's royal umbrella and charged back into the thickest part of the Mughal lines, acting as a high-value decoy to draw the enemy's complete attention. Pratap made a harrowing escape into the hills. He only survived because his horse, Chetak, despite having a leg severely wounded by a sword attached to the enemy elephant's trunk, managed to leap across a massive ravine before collapsing. This stone marker sits exactly where the horse took his final breath. With his army depleted, Pratap looked at these steep, rocky ridges and executed a total strategic pivot. He abandoned pitched battles. From now on, he would weaponize the harsh, vertical terrain of his homeland. Relying on indigenous bill trackers who knew every hidden cave and trail, Pratap initiated a relentless guerrilla campaign. His men launched lightning-fast ambushes out of the tree lines and vanished back into the wilderness. Most critically, they systematically severed the enemy's supply lines from the outside world. Deprived of food and resources, the Mughal army's massive size became a fatal vulnerability. Tens of thousands of imperial soldiers were left starving in the forts they had captured, effectively imprisoned in the territory they claimed to control. Pratap spent years operating out of the forest, refusing the comforts of a palace until his kingdom was free. Meanwhile, wealthy local allies and childhood friends quietly funneled their fortunes to him, allowing him to slowly raise and equip a highly mobile, fiercely loyal new army. By 1582, 6 years after Haldighati, Pratap was ready. At the Battle of Haldighati, he shifted from defensive harassment to a full-scale, coordinated counteroffensive, crashing down upon the entrenched Mughal garrisons with devastating speed. This map tracks the immediate aftermath. In a single day, Pratap's troops dismantled dozens of Mughal outposts. Facing a relentless enemy that seemed to strike from everywhere at once, 36,000 Mughal soldiers surrendered. The victory at Haldighati validated Pratap's strategy. It proved that a hyper-local force, perfectly adapted to its own terrain, could bleed out and dismantle a rigid imperial behemoth. Over the following decade, as Akbar's attention was drawn to other frontiers, Pratap relentlessly pushed forward. Look at this grand lakeside architecture in Udaipur. It represents the restored glory of Mewar, as Pratap successfully reclaimed the vast majority of his kingdom's original borders. When Maharana Pratap died in 1597 at the age of 56, he passed away as a sovereign ruler. He had spent his entire life fighting the wealthiest, most powerful empire on earth without ever submitting to its throne. This painting depicts Emperor Akbar holding court from his seat of absolute power. Yet historical accounts state that when the news of Pratap's death reached Lahore, the emperor lowered his head and wept, showing respect for the one enemy he could never conquer. Pratap established a new metric for success in the face of an empire. By reclaiming his borders and maintaining his political autonomy until death, he became the primary representative of Swabhiman, the principle of absolute sovereignty. He proved that imperial power remains incomplete so long as the target refuses to recognize it.